Welcome back to the pod. Welcome back to Zenish. Thank you for being here. We have a very special guest this week. My honey, Jordan Castillo, aka Jstill 2490. I am excited to have him on here. He is so full of wisdom and light and is just a joy to be around. He is so special to me, and I give him a pretty good introduction at the top of this podcast episode, so I'm not going to say too much more. Let's see, this week, this month, the next couple of weeks in the community, I have private sessions available, one-on-one in-person sessions available in Slidell on February 21st. I still have about 2 sessions left, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. These are $111 for the hour, unless you're subscribed to the $111 tier on Patreon. Then that includes a 1-hour session with me every month. I have virtual sessions available, honestly, let's see. I have a couple of days that I'm available for virtual sessions before Jordan and I actually leave for our 2-week trip out of the country on the 27th. So if you want to get a virtual session in before we leave for 2 weeks, you know how to find me in the Linktree link below. We have a holding space on Wednesday, February 26th. This is our virtual meetup. It is $33 for the hour and a half that we are together, unless you are subscribed to the Sunday service tier or 111 tier on Patreon. If you would like to participate, you can Venmo me or Zelle me or shoot me a text or DM to reserve your space. That is from 7 to 8:30. If you can't make it and still want to participate, you can receive a recording. Again, you just Venmo or Zelle me your $33. Or reach out to me so we can figure out some sort of payment method and get you on the list so that you can receive the Zoom link and the replay. As of today, the Sunday service tier for $33 is closed on Patreon. I am opening a tier that is for $44. That includes Sunday service, that includes holding space, which right there is a $77 value, as well as all of the content that I put on Patreon. Patreon is so cool. I post readings every single week. If you are signed up for weekly readings, you get 1 reading a week. If you are signed up for the extended Sunday service or 111 tier, I am posting all of the time. Yeah, that's it. I hope that you enjoy Jordan so much. I have an extended episode over on Patreon where we talk about moving in together and our goals for the new year, and I'm just excited to share Jordan with you guys. I love y'all so much. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Howdy.
Welcome.
Thanks.
There's a lot of people who are really excited about you being here today.
Interesting.
So a lot of you have met Jordan. A bunch of us went to Queen Herbie together. A lot of you have heard a lot about Jordan. Jordan is my boyfriend, my partner. We've been together 3 years. This fall, we made 3 years. And I have Jordan on today because this month in Sunday service, we are talking about consistency in our movement practices and learning how to flow from home. And this man is the most consistent and dedicated person that I know. He has really inspired me in our time together to be very devoted to my movement practice. And I feel like I am very flighty. Like I can jump from one thing to the next very quickly and get really excited about things. And Jordan is more of a slow and steady presence. And I've learned a lot about the value of slow and steady and showing up every day. And even though he can be very hard on himself, because we were literally just talking about Jordan being a perfectionist, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. He has just been really grounding in.
This is a first for me, so I'm excited to do it, I guess. And it's cool to know that people are interested in hearing what I have to say, so.
Yeah, wise Jordan. We had a really, side note, we had a really interesting morning this morning. So it's Sunday evening when we're recording, and we really love our Sundays. We're very much so creatures of habit, and we set ourselves up for success all week. And we decided to go to the farmer's market to drop off glass in City Park in New Orleans. And we hauled all the glass we've been saving to City Park with Eddie. All of you pretty much know who Eddie is, our dog. And they were not taking glass this morning. So we walked the glass and the dog back to the car and then walked back to the farmer's market to get eggs, which they were also out of. And Eddie he caused such a scene at the farmer's market that we had to leave. Do you want to share what he had a fit about?
Yeah, basically there was a small child who was roughly 3 years old who had a big puffy jacket on with their arms wide open and looking at Eddie. And I guess that startled him enough to start freaking out and cause a scene.
Cause a scene. Not only did he cause a scene, but he got all the other dogs at City Park involved as well. And this black lab lunged towards the action and knocked his mom into a booth full of vegetables. And it was very embarrassing.
Almost knocked the booth over.
Yep, it was very embarrassing. Jordan rounded us up and was like, we must leave. And then later on that afternoon, we were picking up pho and noticed a lady on the ground who looked like she was gardening, and she had actually fallen chasing her dog. Poor woman. She was Jordan and I basically ended up in her house for a half an hour suturing her wounds and helping her catch her creatures. So it's been an eventful Sunday, I would say.
To say the least, yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah.
So, Jordan, do you want to share a little bit about, why don't you share a little bit about who you are? Introduce yourself, what you do, what your hobbies are.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with, I went to school for mechanical engineering at LSU, and then I did a master's program over at UNO for naval architecture. I guess between undergraduate and graduate school, I had kind of a little phase of potentially wanting to do medical school, but ultimately decided against that because I didn't want to end up being in school for another 8 years. And so after doing some research, I ended up falling, into, I found out about naval architecture, and I talked to a buddy of mine who went through the program, and he was, had nothing but good things to say about it. So it seemed like something that was really cool, and so I went for it and finished that in about a year and a half, and then pretty much started working right after school. So I've been working as a naval architect for about close to 8 years now. I started out doing a lot of technical things, more engineering stuff, and now I'm kind of doing a bit more management and helping out with things like learning and development and process improvements at the company that I'm at right now. I work right across the street from UNO's campus. And yeah, so that's on the, work side of things, I guess, career-wise. But yeah, I guess everybody, for the most part, knows I, have this big passion for dance. I kind of fell into that in undergraduate school. Kind of always knew that I had sort of an affinity to want to dance. But I didn't really allow myself the freedom to do it until I got into college, and I found some other people who kind of had a similar interest, and that was pretty cool. So I started practicing a little bit more, and then as things kind of progressed, and I just felt more and more in love with it. Now it's kind of become sort of a daily practice of mine. So that's I would consider that to be more of a passion really than a hobby. It's been part of my life for something like 11 or 12 years now.
That's a long time.
Yeah, and stayed consistent with it. It's been a daily practice. And then some other things, I've, I guess hobby-wise that I like, play guitar every now and then. That's, kind of 20 minutes here and there, but nothing that's as, consistent, I guess, or as big of a part of my life as dance. And then occasionally I like to pick up a soccer ball and juggle it.
He was a little soccer star before he.
Yeah, that was like my first love when I was really from grade school all the way through pretty much high school. I was very, very big into soccer, and then eventually kind of, life happens and phased out of that. But so that's a little bit about me.
I think it's brave to get into college and switch from something like soccer that a lot of people are doing and it's the norm, and then really pursue dance.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, when I was growing up in Mandeville, if you know Mandeville at all, it's kind of not really dance is not big there, I guess. Street dance, I guess, which is predominantly like styles of dance that I do stemmed from the street dance community, and so I guess that's part of the reason why I kind of never really when I was younger allowed myself the full freedom to explore dance for the interest that I had, probably because it was not something that everybody else was doing at the time. And soccer was something that I grew up playing. My dad taught me how to play, and I really loved it. And there were certain things that I really trained hard at. But I think kind of when I got into college, and I sort of realized that soccer was not going to be something that was going to be a part of my life in the way that I wanted it to originally when I was a little bit younger. I kind of felt like I need something new to obsess over.
And obsess
quote
you
unquote.
did.
Yeah. And so, I just remember one day I was watching this show called So You Think You Can Dance, and I remember, thinking like, if I put in time pretty much every day, then I could get to a point of being able to move my body in that way. I could see myself doing it. And so, once I kind of allowed myself the ability, to have that mindset, then it was like, well, let's go ahead and step into it, and let's not let fear be the driver, and let's allow myself to explore that interest. Yeah.
Was this early in college, like freshman year?
No, it was a little bit later. It was probably, I would say, midway through my junior year or so.
You're crazy, You're like studying mechanical engineering, which is not easy. And you're like, let me pursue this new passion, like something completely new. How green were you in the world of street dance?
I was pretty, I mean, I would say about as green as they come. I mean, it's like there's so many different styles, and I guess so many different ways to go about those styles that, people have all their own creativity and stuff, and they take their own styles in different directions and everything. And I had no idea what I was doing at all. I just knew that I liked to dance. I liked to move. And occasionally, in previous years, I would like practice how to do certain things, but it was just kind of like party trick kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And mostly I would do it in my room, and very, very seldom did it actually come out in the public. And when I did, people were like, "Oh, it's really cool" and everything. But it was, I think some of the negative things that people said when I was younger kind of hindered me a bit from actually letting it grow a little bit more. So
I think that's normal because you are already kind of unsure of what you're doing, and then you explore it privately, and then you slowly like you enjoy it and you keep wanting to come back to it even though you don't understand why. And then you kind of show it to close friends or people in the world, and someone gives voice to fears that you already have or anxieties that you already have, and it makes you kind of want to closet again and ask, like, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? And so I feel about the work that I've been doing, having like a podcast and being open about what I do on the internet you've been really inspiring in that way, because we met via Instagram. Like, I saw your dancing videos, and I would post like things about what I'm doing here and there, but I started exploring these practices around 2011, and I haven't been very open about it until maybe 2020, when I started It's a Vibe, because I wasn't confident enough to withstand the feedback or the thoughts that I was getting from people. And most of them were really loving, but the loudest ones and the ones that make you kind of want to hide are the few that shed light on your worst anxieties and fears. So to get to the point where you are takes a lot of courage. And obviously consistency, because you're really good at what you do too.
Yeah, no, thanks. I mean, it takes a while to get to that point of feeling like confident, I guess. The confidence just builds. But, I think it's completely natural to have like that initial very strong fear. We were talking about it earlier about like posting to Instagram for the first time. I mean,
you
for
like
me,
want to throw up.
Yeah, right. I mean, I can remember just being so scared to post that first video, watching it over like, I don't know, probably 40 times, dissecting every little thing before I posted it. And at the time I had been dancing for, I don't know, maybe 2 years or so. I had been practicing. And in my head, it was always like, the first video I'll post is going to be awesome. So
It's
that
like
it's going to be
perfect.
perfect. Yeah. But, and I think only as time goes by, as you continue to, practice and stuff, you realize like how kind of like silly that mindset is, or at least like, I guess you don't realize how insignificant it really is, in the grand scheme of things, to just go ahead and make that, like post. It's like, it's not a big deal now. It was a big deal then because it needed to step out of that fear zone. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But now it's like, well, I just post,
Yeah.
I made a video, I just post it.
Yeah.
So, but.
Yeah. When you started sharing on Instagram, had you had community yet around dance? Like, had you met Fam and Robo Steve and all of them? Or is that kind of how you met them, through posting on the internet?
No, I met Steven, actually on set of Pitch Perfect 2. And then, him and I became good friends. And then, Fam, his first name is also Steven. I met him basically through Instagram. I mean, just in the dance community, we kind of had a lot of, similar followers and everything, and we just kind of followed each other, and at some point we just made it a point to link up and make a video, and then, we just really became best friends.
Now we travel the world together.
And now we travel the world together. Yeah, no, it's Fam and Gender family now.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to talk about your physical movement practice, because Jordan moves every single day, and he is so dedicated to caring for himself and for his body and for his well-being and really perfecting his craft. Like, I will notice Jordan, like, as long as you've been doing this, you're still committed to learning something new and improving what you already know, both in dance and in your workout routines. And I love how you find things like via the internet that you want to learn and you make a point to make time for that on a regular basis. I think that that's awesome. And you are always you're always committed, you always show up, and you encourage me to show up all the time. And then you take note of like what is working and what isn't, and you adjust. And even when you have setbacks like injuries or like discomforts in your body, you never let it stop you from continuing to be strong, like dedicated to being strong. So I would love for you to share your thoughts on that and maybe some of the conversations that we've had in the past. Because really, I felt like my movement practice changed when we went to Orange Beach over the summer. Mm-hmm. Remember that drive home?
Yeah.
And I was frustrated because I was showing up, but like I was showing up regularly. Like I had been committed to movement, but I was lacking consistency and like a dedicated movement practice. Like it was kind of like I got on my mat every day, but there was no structure to what I was doing. And on the drive home, we talked a lot about structure and commitment. And so I made a list of things that I wanted to do for my body every week and I have not missed, except for maybe being sick, at all since June. And we're now in January.
That's
and
awesome.
It was, I feel the difference and I see the difference in my body. And that was based on the advice that you gave me that you follow to this day. And I feel like you've always been active, probably since you were a little boy.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I think that from the moment that I decided that, that's that same day, basically, when I thought to myself, if I put the time in, I can learn how to do this, right? I sort of made a promise to myself that, subconsciously kind of made a promise to myself that I was going to follow through with that. And so from a consistency standpoint, it kind of just always made sense to me that I'm not getting there without having the consistency, right? Mm-hmm. And
which you probably knew from soccer.
It started early on, yeah, for me. I think that the consistency, I started learning about consistency and really discipline early on. Playing soccer, you're not going to get good technically without, practicing, juggling, dribbling, things like that. And you're not gonna have discipline without having to go show up for practice and show up for a game on time every day. I had a coach, I remember, who pretty much would sit you. He would bench you for the game if you showed up late to practice, and that same coach was also extremely strict when it came to, effort, basically. If he saw that you weren't giving 100% effort, then he would, we would have to like run like crazy, sort of thing. Or we'd do those leg lifts on the ground, those, ab workouts mm-hmm. where have to hold it for like a minute or something. And if like one person on the team put their legs down, then have to start all over. And so it kind of taught the whole team, like, we're in this together, you know what I mean? So, but, so discipline kind of started there. And then I think I also learned a lot going through engineering school, because even though it's a completely different type of thing, you're not really using your body physically, you're using your mind. You're still having to study every single day on a regular basis. And anybody who's gone through engineering school knows that for classes like thermodynamics or fluid mechanics, heat transfer, those are, your big, very, very intense courses that you have to pretty much study every single day for. And if you don't, you're not going to pass a class. And so after having gone through engineering school, I think that sort of, I really just, throughout the process of going through engineering school, because, I mentioned earlier, I started dancing intently and about junior year, but basically having gone through the realization of, I need to have consistency here, just like I did in school. And if I do that, if I can just, basically do the same thing that I did in school, but with, the physical aspect, just showing up every day, then I can get there. And so from a consistency point of view, for me, if I take a day off, and that those are very seldom when I do, it kind of makes me feel bad, like I'm letting myself down. And I sort of feel like to really get to that point of knowing what it feels like to have discipline, I think you have to get to that point of, it makes me feel a little bit bad. It makes me feel like I'm slipping up if I don't show up for this workout, or if I, sort of half-ass this workout,
I also feel like it's hard to start or commit to something if you don't have some kind of goal in mind.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think, it starts somewhere. You have to have some kind of outlook, right? Something that you're striving for. And you just adjust. You tweak things as you go, because everybody's body is different. Everybody's body has limitations for certain things, and so if you say, I want, to my body to be able to do this, whatever it is, and you start training in different, let's say, a few different exercises or something, but one of those exercises causes you pain all the time, well, then maybe that's not the best one to do. You just find a different one, Doesn't mean that your end goal can't be achieved. You just have to find a different path to get there.
It's such a delicate balance between, because we've talked about this a lot, because there's definitely a little bit of fear, and I think it's gotten a lot better over the years of us having this conversation, because when I first started practicing yoga, I was going so hard and my alignment was wrong, and I wasn't strong enough to be doing a lot of the things I was doing, and I hurt my shoulders really bad. And it was 3 years before I could do down dog again on the mat, which was really frustrating. But I never stopped showing up. I just learned to modify the practice so that I could still participate. But it was really frustrating because I couldn't, every time I felt like I was strong enough and ready to participate again, I would feel the same pain and discomfort and have to take weeks off at a time. And so there's this fear in getting in my body and moving and really challenging myself to be strong, that I will end up not recognizing the difference between being in pain because something's wrong and being uncomfortable because I'm challenging myself physically to be stronger, and not stop myself before I can get there out of fear of getting hurt again, really hurt again, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's a fine line there sometimes. My philosophy has always been kind of I try not to let injuries, I guess, stop me from showing up for sure, but obviously if you have some acute type of injury, you got to let your body rest, in order to be able to still continue to show up. Otherwise you're going to end up messing yourself up. And
so many times over the last few years, I'm I think I'm hurt. And Jordan's are you hurt or are you sore? And I'm I don't know. I think I might actually be sore, especially when you're working out muscles that you've never really worked out and they're turned on in a way they've never been turned on, and you're uncomfortable because you're sore and you're am I in so much pain? Did I fuck something up so bad? Or am I just turning on parts of my body that have never been activated?
Yeah. I definitely, sometimes I worry about, myself, similar kind of thing, that, because I'm always in my head telling myself, let's not be a little bitch about, this one little ailment or whatever. And, I've definitely been in that situation where I ended up hurting myself even more, which sucked, but, and then you have to rest longer.
Yeah.
So,
And modify everything. It's like once you get a
yeah,
system going, you show up and you like know what you're going to do. And then when something like that happens and you have to modify, you're like, I truly think that those moments are gifts too. I feel like it calls us to slow down and like really listen to your body and be like, what do you need? Like, what do you actually need right now? And I kind of feel like it opens doorways to care for yourself in a different way and maybe recognize parts of you that have been, like, on a physical level, maybe been neglected, or it encourages you to learn something new about your body and how to care for it. But it's not always easy to see that whenever you have to actually take the time to figure something else out because we're busy. I mean, you're another level of busy, but so whenever you are dealing with an injury or some kind of hard or soft stop, you have to actually take the time to explore what
yeah.
else your body needs.
I mean, and it's uncomfortable too because you have to. It's like you said, it can be a blessing. A lot of times they are. I mean, realistically, if let's say you injure your foot, right, and this is something that you just in from experience, right, just how I was saying a second ago that I re-injured myself, right. If I'm going to do a similar type of exercise, that I was planning to do, I just try to do it a lot lighter. Mm-hmm. But I would recommend, to just basically do, still show up, but do something else that doesn't involve whatever particular part of the body that's injured, And so for me, and this is something I talk with fam about too, like in dance, because dance, you use every part of your body in dance. And so if I hurt something in my leg, whatever it might be, my ankle, my toe, my
Your
knee
toes,
or something.
yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just focus on, things up top, so I'll focus on some waving, arm stuff, or vice versa. I don't get so many injuries anymore up top. I used to get them a lot more when I was training this one specific style of dance called bone breaking. Sounds crazy. Look it up. But when I was doing that, I was hurting myself a little bit more because it's kind of like, to get that flexibility, that level of flexibility, you have to stretch a lot. And so then if I would hurt myself doing that, then I would try to focus on some kind of footwork or something like that. So yeah, I mean, definitely, injuries for sure, they're telling your body something, right? And so it's kind of like you just got to do the best that you can to try and navigate. I would say, either have to reduce the intensity of the workout if you want to do the same type of workout to where you're not feeling pain or, as much pain and you can get through it, or you focus on a different part of the body, but again, the important part is showing up, doing something that's still progressive and continuing, your craft forward, whatever it is.
I've said this so many times, like in community, I'm sure on this podcast, but I had a therapist during a really rough chapter for me, and it was really hard to even get out of bed. Like, I was just struggling to exist as a human, and I was deep into yoga at the time. Like, I'd already gone through several yoga teacher trainings and was regularly practicing, and I was really struggling to even work out. And she just said, all you have to do is pull out your mat and show up on it every day, like once a day. And she's like, if you lay on your mat that day, it's enough. And I have stuck to that ever since then, with a couple of exceptions. Like, we've had a few exceptions, like whether we're traveling or not feeling well, or it's just a day where you just, how you just have those days where like you really aren't getting out of bed. Like, it's just not happening. But yeah, with very few exceptions, I will show up on my mat every day. And I feel the same way when I'm like I'll always talk about how I'll have this routine going and then all of a sudden my body doesn't feel connected to a routine at all. Like it just doesn't want to do the shit that I've been doing. And I've tried to make it work and it's just like I feel like you also have to be interested in what you're showing up to do. Like you have to be somewhat excited and enthusiastic about it or what's the point? Like it's something that's good for you. And so I'll have these weeks where I just feel so discombobulated. Like I don't want to show up to my mat. Like it feels like a chore. It makes me kind of anxious because I can't figure out how I actually want to move. But I still commit to showing up because I feel like those are easy times to, like, I feel like once you introduce that break or an opportunity to not move at all, like weeks, months go by and you just realize that you haven't showed up for yourself at all. And I find that if you just show up and breathe, even if you just lay there and like roll around or whatever, you always find your way back to what your body needs. And we talk in yoga about how important the breath is. And when I'm in a really good practice, like even if I show up without any idea of how I am going to move, especially if it's a day where I'm straight up doing yoga, if I can just breathe, I feel like the breath shows me where I need love. Like whether my legs are really tight or my shoulders or my neck, like I feel like the breath always shows me what I need. So that's the goal. Like every day, whether I want to be there or not, to just show up and breathe a little bit and then figure out where to.
Yeah. You know, I one thing I struggle with is, for myself personally, is knowing when to dial it back, I guess. Because, I guess for me sometimes, I think that it's kind of like a dangerous, kind of type, what they call it, a tightrope.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, I try not to get too much into the mindset of like, that something is better than nothing, just for me personally, because when I get in that mindset, it sort of opens the door for, allowing, it's kind of like if you skip a day and you say, oh, I'm just like skipping because I need a break kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That kind of goes to like, it's similar to that for me, where if I allow my brain to kind of think that way, it kind of leaves the door open for that, to where it's okay to show up just for 10 minutes, and then like multiple times, a week, and then next thing it just kind of creeps up, and so, it's one thing I for sure struggle with is like, when is the right time to dial it back and how often, because for me, I'm just like, go, go, go.
I felt that over the holidays because I felt like we were so busy and so tired. I was so tired. Mm-hmm. And so I was just showing up and like doing 20 minutes. Like, I'm like, all I've got is 10 minutes. Like, that's all the energy I have. And then when the new year rolled around and we slowed down, I'm like, no, this is not working for me. Like, I have got to like push myself in a way that I have not been able to. But I don't know. I feel like that's kind of the way it goes. Like, I feel like you are an exception because you really do show up 100% every fucking time, like every time. And I am always encouraging you to like slow it down, not like not show up for yourself, but I'm like, Jordan, it's okay to have like a break or a moment or like to just stretch today or maybe learn some yin yoga, like something like that. But I also feel like I need some of your like tenacity and to push myself harder sometimes.
It's just, we've talked about this several times, but my progressive nature, I guess, is it sort of just doesn't allow me to slow down as much as I think I probably should at times whenever I sit down and have conversations like these. But yeah, I mean, it's innate for me, like, to just always be trying to improve and trying to get better at whatever it is that I'm doing, be more efficient, Yeah. And which is why, this kind of newer position for me at work has been working out really well for me, because I get to put that part into works, actually be able to work on improving things and get paid for it
Right.
is kind of nice.
I know you really do seem like you're in your element at your job right now, and I love that for you.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm enjoying it a lot. But outside of work, I kind of just try to continue to improve the things that in my daily life, you see it.
I see it all the time.
As much as possible.
I'm one of those things.
Yeah.
That's being improved.
No.
Okay, so we're coming to our 40-minute mark. We are going to do a really quick extended episode, which I have an idea for, but I'm not going to say it on here yet because I want to get Jordan's thoughts on it first. Don't be scared. I'm just kidding. So I always ask, or I try to, I don't always remember. One is any advice for someone who is getting started, who is like lacking motivation and really not knowing where to begin when it comes to movement or even setting a goal for themselves. Like, what kind of advice would you give them? And then the second question is there a product or something that you're really loving right now? Like, whether it's like tea or something that has to do with like working out and recovery or sleep or like just anything that you are indulging in and enjoying right now that you feel like you benefit from.
So as far as advice goes for anybody who's trying to get into movement, I would say that it just maybe do some research on the type of movement that you think might best suit you. And I think, if you have some idea or if you have the desire to get into something that's movement related, then you probably have some type of idea as to what kind of movement, is it dance? Is it yoga? Is it, I want to run, whatever it is. There's all these different avenues within each facet of movement or whatever. And so, if you kind of know, okay, maybe I want to dance, then figure out, well, what type of dance do I want to do? Because there's so many different styles of dance, right? So you do some research, figure out what specifically might I want to tackle, first, kind of thing. Because once you start and you have some consistency, you will likely change. You will likely go into different avenues of that same facet, right? So I would say just do some good research on what best suits you, and then I would say research maybe some. Just YouTube's, that's how I started.
Yes, same.
I just literally, YouTube, like you could, how to, right? How to blank, 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 fill in the blanks and you will find something. And if you want it, you'll show up, right? And that's the most important thing is just show up day one, basically, and say, allow yourself the ability to make a promise to yourself that you're going to keep, I guess, and show up. So watch the videos, see what it's like, gain some interest, right? And then tell yourself, okay, this is the day I'm going to go do it, and go do it. And I would say start with whatever works best within your daily life and pick, let's say, 2 days out of the week to start.
Right.
Right. Everybody's got busy lives, but it's about prioritizing within the time that you have, right, outside of the necessities in life, right? So work, taking care of your family, maybe you have to give up those 20, 30 minutes of Netflix that you watch at the end of the
Right.
night before you go to sleep.
Or scrolling on the
Or,
TikTok.
yeah, or scrolling on TikTok or whatever it is, whatever other social media app is, you know, that's where you kind of have to reprioritize that time and say, I'm going to utilize it for this one specific thing that I am committing myself to. And I would say there's no harm, no foul in trying something and then realizing that, hey, this doesn't agree with me well. I had a friend of mine who I met in Los Angeles, probably like 8 or 9 years ago at this point. And I remember that she kind of had started out in one specific style of dance, tutting, which is angles and stuff. You kind of see me doing that in some of my videos if you watch them. But she went through a couple of different styles, I guess, and until she found shuffling. And now she's like killing it as a shuffler, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. The one thing that she never did was just stop dancing. She just kept finding or trying new, different styles of dance until she found something that really resonated with her, and it worked out.
She's really inspirational too, just to follow. We can tag her in the show notes too.
Yeah, for sure. That's Danae. Danae, super cool girl. But yeah, I mean, she's just like a good example to what I'm talking about. I would say basically just to kind of recap, like do some research, right? Earlier you heard me mention I allowed myself the opportunity or the ability to explore the interest that I had, which was dance. Like that's step one. Allow yourself that opportunity, the ability to explore whatever interest that it is that you have. And I say allow because what's stopping you is just yourself,
Amen.
And so allow yourself that. That's number one. Number two is, do the research to see, YouTube videos, whatever might really interest you. And then number three, after you kind of watch some videos and stuff, tell yourself you're going to show up, try to fit, whatever you can fit. If it's 1 day a week, fine. If it's 2 days a week for 10 minutes a day, fine. But start somewhere, and commit to it and don't stray from it. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what it is. You may have to reprioritize some time again, based on your schedule. If you really, really want it, you shave off 10 minutes here and there from whatever other extracurricular activities that you're doing and just dive in. Mm-hmm. And then from there, now maintain consistency, keep the discipline, right? Again, to me, you have some level of discipline when you start feeling bad about not showing up.
Right.
And so, yeah, once you've now established discipline, then it's great because now you can adjust the course if you need to. If you find something's not working for you, you try a different style or a different genre of whatever type of movement pattern you're delving into. And yeah, I think that's probably what I would say.
I love it. Products.
I like Brain.
Oh, don't we all? That came from the apothecary. Host Defense's brain supplement is the freaking bomb.
Yeah, like Brain a lot.
That's a good choice. That was a really good choice.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, in closing, do you want to extend the invite to the Gumbo Cypher to the community and kind of explain what that is? Because that was one of the coolest things I have ever gone to support you do in the dance world.
Absolutely. So the Gumbo Cypher is basically a dancer's soup, if you will. Basically, there's maybe 10 dancers or so. my friend Sophia puts it on, and basically it's showcasing different styles of dance, street dance, freestyle hip hop basically. And this year it's going to be at Zoni Mash. Last year it was
Which
at the
is so
Contemporary
much
Arts
fun.
Center. Yeah, Zoni Mash is awesome. It's like one of my favorite brewery in New Orleans. But I'm excited about it because just the layout of Zoni Mash, I think, is good for that kind of stuff.
Y'all, it was so cool. They have so many different styles of dance that I had not even really... you see them, but you don't put a name to them, and they had shared the history, and it was just a whole immersive performance. It was so cool.
Yeah, so if you want to look up, I guess, maybe the kind of styles that they'll be doing, there's whacking, there's b-boying, or breaking, there's popping, there's crumping, there is bounce, New Orleans bounce, and some animation, which is more of what I do, waving and tutting, and some footwork, gliding. Come see fam do the craziest
Oh my God.
footwork you've
He's
ever
like
seen.
water. He is like water.
But yeah, so it's going to be really cool. It's going to be, I think, March 29th is the day of the show. I'm not 100% sure
Wait, I'll tell you.
what the times are just yet.
Yep. 29th.
But it's going to be 2 shows on the 29th, and this year, which we didn't have last year, which is going to be really cool, is an after party. And that should be a whole lot of fun. It'll bring a whole bunch of different people together, and yeah, we're just going to get down, dance, have some drinks, have a good time.
Yay. Please come. It'll be so much fun to bring our communities together.
Yes, definitely.
It is such a good time. You can find Jordan at Jstill2490 on the gram and check out his moves. And you can tune into the extended tier on Patreon for our little extended treat from Jordan and I. We love you guys so much. Peace out.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with you.